I'm going to do a video here on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame nominees for 2021. Now, of course, these were announced a very long time ago, but I'm just getting to them now because I wanted to let it sort of. I had better priorities, to be honest. This is just a complete joke, as you know, the Rock Hall is. And I wanted to let the votes kind of sink in because this top five has changed a ton since the vote just started. And just a disclaimer, as you know, the Rock Hall fan vote is a complete joke. The amount of votes here that go to these people count for like one vote out of the 1,000 needed in the eventual. Basically, whoever's in the top five here gets like an extra vote, and they have all these people that vote in the finale, I guess you would call it, and there's like 1,000 more votes. So this just bumps them up by a couple. That's it. So the chance of these people in the top five getting in after everybody else votes is extremely low. And we saw, I think it was last year, that the person that was in first place did not get in. So, regardless of this top five, the fan vote just doesn't matter in general. It makes people think they have a say in who gets inducted, but in reality, it doesn't matter at all. And I also find it very nice here how I tried voting. Before you could just vote and that's it. You could vote. But now you got to give them like your. Let's see here, actually. I think it's my. You got to give email. Okay, you got to log in. So either they make you log in with Facebook, Google, or Amazon, or you can give them your email so they can send you junk. Okay, so I never voted this year. That's why. Before, you didn't have to do any of that. But now they want you to log in or give you the email to them, so I'm not doing that. But now that that's out of the way, let's get to the top five. First place right now, Tina Turner, very deserved. I'm not the biggest fan of her 80s material, but some of her older stuff is good, and of course, she's pretty much a legend. She's like 82 years old now, and she should have been in maybe 10 or 20 years ago. I don't know why they waited this long to. I'm assuming, well, like I said, just because she's in first here, she has a slim lead too. Because she's in first in the top five doesn't mean she's gonna get in, but I think because she's a female and the I guess the hall wants to get diversity in there, she probably will get in, which is good. So first place right here, good. Should have been in a long time ago. Now this guy right here is very strange. Fela Kuti. And being completely honest here, I had no idea this guy even existed before he was nominated for the Hall. No idea. And I looked him up. He's like a Nigerian musician. Uh, he worked with quite a few people, but he was also. He's been dead since 1997, in case you didn't. So they waited 24 years to nominate him. And he was. The first year he was eligible was in 95. So he was eligible for 2 years before he died. And then they waited 24 more. I think that'd be 97, 07, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Yep, 24 years. They waited 24 more years after he died to nominate him when he could have been nominated in 95 or 96. Or I guess even 97. If you technically it'd be 3 years. He died in 97. I'm pretty sure. I just want to confirm that. Yeah. So technically it was three if you count, the first year as one. But they didn't, and you know why they're nominating him now is because of diversity. And you'll see it down this list. They want to get diversity in the hall. They're so worried about diversity and being politically correct. So they nominated this Nigerian. musician that I guarantee you most people didn't even know existed like me. I had no idea this guy existed. I have no idea what he has to do with rock and roll music, but he's nominated and he was at first place before. Originally, he was way down at the bottom of the list here, but then some I think after a lot of promotion or people finally discovered who he was, then he got put up into the top 5 right here as you see, and he was at first, but then Tina knocked him out, which is good. I'd rather have somebody I know than some guy, and I looked on his I closed the page out, but on his Wikipedia, which isn't exactly the most reliable website, but I saw on there he was involved in a lot of political activity and even a crime of like a murder. I'm not exactly sure if that'd be the best person to be, honoring with putting in the Rock Hall, but do I think he'll get in? For diversity, he might, but in my opinion, not exactly a person that should be in. Not even rock music. So the Go Go's, as I said, they're being nominated for a reason, and that's because they are an all-female band. They want to get females in, so they nominate the Go Go's, and I have a page open. Here it is of their commercial success. Pretty much the only song, of course, I know is "We Got the Beat." Not exactly my most favorite song. I'm thinking of a band that has girls in it that would be more likely. The B-52s. I'd rather see the B-52s. I'm not sure if they're in. I could just search that. They have never been nominated and been eligible since 2004. I don't think they've been nominated in the last few years either. So, yeah, B-52s, they got some women in there and they have not been nominated. I think that'd be a much better choice than the Go-Go's. I mean, look at this. They had a couple of songs in the 80s, but then that's it. They didn't last that long either. Only a couple years here. But in my opinion, the B-52s would be better. This is pretty just for equality. That's the only reason they're putting a nomination for them. They never used to be in the top 5 either, I think, too. They got bumped up. Iron Maiden. I think they got nominated before. Now, before I made this video, I literally went out and listened to their debut album with a very nice cover. And it's pretty much you take Motorhead, heavily influenced by Motorhead, heavily influenced by the Scorpions, and maybe some Sabbath, and then there you go. There's Iron Maiden. And one thing I don't like about them is that they were formed in 75, but they released absolutely nothing for 5 years. And they put out the Soundhouse tapes, pretty much as like an obscure release, only 5,000 copies in 79 of something they recorded in late 78. I think I listened to a couple of these songs I think a while ago and they weren't anything special. But pretty much they were together for since 75, released nothing till 80, and then I listened to it. I told you what it is, and I didn't think a lot of the songs are pretty much like you take Motorhead, you add some Scorpions, and then it's pretty much just like fast paced hard rock. That's all it is, and it's nothing special. Should they be in my opinion? I think there's more. I'm not sure if the Scorpions are in. Let me see if the Scorpions aren't. Yeah, because Judas Priest and Motorhead did not get in, which isn't that big of a deal. So it's looking like they haven't even been nominated. Okay. The Scorpions would take precedent over them any day of the week. The Foo Fighters, pretty much a band that came out of the ashes of Nirvana. I'm not going to say anything else. Shouldn't even be on the list. But I guess the Hall, they like grunge, so. Carole King, a legend in the singer songwriter community. Uh, Tapestry is. I haven't listened to it myself, but I'll listen to it soon. And just for popularity alone, she should be in. I mean, she's not young either. These people are getting up in age. How many are going to be dead by the time they get in? Uh, should she be in? Yeah, she's a very good person in the like soft rock singer songwriter. You know, adult contemporary market. Maybe not into the rock and roll, but into those markets, she's a legend. Extremely long career. Todd Rundgren, now that guy, he's been nominated before, but he said himself that he doesn't even care if he gets in because he knows the hall is a joke. But I would like to see him get in. He probably won't even attend the ceremony. But he can take a band that is just the most a regular band and turn them into a progressive experimental machine. He did that with Hall and Oates. If you go and listen to Hall and Oates, what they did in '74, they went from like a folk rock, soft rock band to a experimental, progressive hard rock band with Todd Rundgren producing and adding his genius. Like he can in the production department, he can do anything. That guy's pretty much a genius there. He should be in, regardless of whether or not he cares. Devo, I've got their page open. Of course, they're known for Whip It. That's all I know them for. They had a couple other songs, and they were pretty popular in the dance department. But it has a new wave, and another thing I don't like, they were formed in '73, but they released absolutely nothing and gained no popularity in the US until '80. And I guess new wave wasn't really a thing in '73. Should they be in? Eh, not really. I think let me think of another band. Kraftwerk, a band that's kind of new wavy with keyboards. Kraftwerk should be in before them. I mean, go listen to Audubon. Audubon literally set the stage for electronic music. I mean, that like you can't get more groundbreaking and influential than that. But they got nominated, I think, last year, maybe the year before, and they didn't get in. And I think one of the members died recently too. So they're losing members, and they didn't get in. Dionne Warwick in the soul scene, she's a legend. How old? I don't even know how old she is. She's got to be like 70 something. But soul legend, not exactly rock and roll, but I've listened. Some of her music is very good, and she had hit after hit. You don't hear her get any airplay now, but I mean, a soul legend, maybe Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Maybe if there's a Soul Hall of Fame, she'd be there for this one. But just on her success alone, maybe put her in. Rage Against the Machine. Uh, well, I got their page open here. Their studio output is a bit lacking considering how long they've existed, I guess. But a lot of the time they haven't been together, so they haven't put anything out. They actually reunited in like 2019, 2020, and they planned a tour, but then of course Corona came in and killed that. They were mainly at like a '90s, early 2000s metal band with like a rap metal band. It's a very, I don't know if you would call it underexposed genre that appeals to a small audience, and as I didn't even know this. Before I looked this up for this video, I had no idea they only had one hit in the U.S. I thought they were a lot more popular because I know "Killing in the Name," I know "Bulls on Parade," but this song, the one song that was popular here, is "Guerrilla Radio." I never even, maybe if I heard it, I would recognize it, but the two songs I do know were not popular here at all, which is kind of weird. But based off of commercial success in the U.S., no. Uh, Rock and roll band, well, in the rap metal scene, maybe if there's a rap metal hall of fame, if there's a metal hall of fame, maybe they like to get into politics. Uh, in my opinion, for a metal hall of fame, maybe for the rock and roll, maybe not, probably not. And based off of success, I thought they were a lot more popular, to be honest. But seeing now that they only had one song, they were a lot more popular in Europe, which is kind of weird. But I thought they were huge here. But seeing as they only had one song, probably not. Chuck Gunn, uh, uh her work with Rufus, and even her solo career. I haven't really delved into her solo career as much, but just based on success alone, she should be in. She's not as old as some of the other people, but God, how long is it going to take? She got nominated, I think, a couple times already. Didn't get in. And then she got nominated as a member of Rufus. They didn't get in. They were always at the bottom of the list. Of course, because they get no. People forgot about them. They were huge in the 70s, even into the early 80s a little. And still, they just seem to have been forgotten. But she should be in. Kate Bush. Now, she is a really interesting lady. I mean, she came in late 70s, just a young girl with a smash hit single in the, I guess you would call it like the art rock scene, maybe some progressive art rock. She's a legend in that scene. I don't like the fact that she disappeared and quit touring, but regardless of that, what she did when she was still doing stuff, she's still alive. She's like 62. She's a legend in the art rock scene. She really, I'm surprised she's not higher in the list, but then again, she was more in the US, she didn't really catch on. She was just huge in the UK and Europe. She had a couple of songs in the US, but mainly over there, so maybe that's why she's not high up in the list, is because she wasn't huge in the US. But she should be in. She's a legend in the art rock scene. The New York Dolls, in another one. This is another, I guess, example. I had no idea this band existed until they were nominated. They were like a early 70s pre-punk band. I had no idea they existed. And they were very popular, as you would be able to tell by their name. They were very popular in New York, but on the national scene in the US, they were pretty much a commercial failure, sort of like the Velvet Underground. The Velvet Underground were a commercial failure, but they've been in the Hall of Fame for many years, I think. Them pre-punk band, I haven't listened to them at all. I really don't care. To be honest, why they're on the list, is it because they're pre-punk? They were not very popular at all. So I don't know why they're really on the list. Shouldn't be in. If they're so obscure that I haven't heard of them, they shouldn't be in. Mary J. Blige. She is like a 90s R&B singer that is past her prime now, I would say. And I don't know why she's on the list. She's like R&B. Shouldn't be in. And of course, this is kind of deserved though, how the R&B singer and the rappers are at the bottom of the list. That's good. I mean, LL Cool J and Jay-Z. Why is rap on here again? Like, that was like last year when they put the Notorious Big in. He's been dead for like 20 years, and then they nominate him and he gets in instantly. and he's like a '90s rapper. Like, come on, the good time this year. Well, then again, the fan vote doesn't mean anything. So these two rappers and the R&B lady could get in, regardless of what they are in the vote here. They could, and I think they might put one of these three in just because they like rap. But it's a good thing that these are at the bottom because they are not rock. These three should not get in. LL Cool J and Jay Z should not get in. They're rap. There you go. There's the rundown of everybody. I think we had better selection last year or the year before. God, this time they're pumping up like the equality. They're making equality more of a priority than who should be in. I had a freaking not. I'll get a page here. I'm just gonna go through this real quick. There's a website called Not in the Hall of Fame, and it's basically a compilation of all the people that haven't been put into the Rock Hall. Of course, a lot of these on here are very, like, just looking at these right here, Jay-Z, come on, the Foo Fighters, Oasis, these, a lot of them are 90s bands or rappers, which really shouldn't even be on the website. The website is kind of, I don't know if they're desperate for content, but a lot of them shouldn't even be on here. Kraftwerk, I mentioned them. Jethro Tull is debatable. Some of these are very debatable. MC5, Graham Parsons is more country rock, but he's been dead for a while. Like, it's kind of weird how in the website that's even dedicated to the people that aren't in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, they have country rock, they got country, they got like metal, they got progressive rock, which is okay, but they got all this modern rock, they got rap. It's like, what's that's doing? That shouldn't even be on there. I'm gonna point out the people that King Crimson is debatable. Let's go through these and point out some people that actually deserve. Emerson, Lake, and Palmer, I'm surprised on that. I think two of the three are dead now. They waited too long. I listened to some Motorhead. They very disappointing, and that the lead singer, he must have smoked 5 packs a day. Warren Zevon's been dead for a long time. They waited too long. Bad Company is debatable. Pat Benatar, people thought that again. That was funny last year. I think when people thought Pat Benatar was going to get in, well then they didn't put her in. I don't know why Weezer's on here. The Spinners are pretty. They're like a legend in the R&B, maybe disco, maybe not disco, soul scene. Supertramp is sort of bland in areas. Little Feat, I think I haven't listened to them a whole lot, but I think they should be in. Duran Duran, one of the most like corporate, bland '80s. I don't know what you would call that. New wave rock bands. Just this, God, you can't get much more corporate. Ozzy Osbourne as a solo artist is kind of an interesting pick. War, right there, War. I mean, the members. One of the members just died recently, and they got like no media coverage. The bass player, the original bass player, died, and like nobody's talking about it. I find that kind of telling. Like, are they that obscure? They were one of the most like popular R&B bands of the '70s, even into the '80s, and nobody seems to care. Boston again, one of the most corporate, bland rock bands. The Guess Who, they were a force to be reckoned with from like, what was it, like 68 to 75. They had nonstop hits, especially in Canada, yet they are not in. A couple of members, I think, are dead too. No, that's just junk. Rap Three Dog Night. I said that in my previous video. Non-stop hits. Most popular band. One of the most populars for the time period. Not in. And the members, now the majority of the members are dead. Joe Cocker's dead. They waited too long. George Michael's dead. They waited too long. Daft Punk is like dance and what is that, synth? Electronic. Maybe they shouldn't be in here. Marilyn Manson sticks out like a sore frickin' thumb. The Scorpions, of course. Styx is. People have been pretty mixed on Styx. Same here. Kool and the Gang in the R&B department, yeah. Thin Lizzy's a little overrated. Foreigner, I'd say pretty overrated. Carole King again. Alanis Morissette is out of place. Eurythmics are interesting, but eh. They put rappers. This list should be narrowed down to like 100 people or less, and they've got is that literally how many? Almost 600. A lot of these could be tossed out. This is a REO Speedrank is a little corporate and overrated, but GFR maybe, Slade sure, Commodore's R&B scene huge. Badfinger, I think most of the members are dead. Mott the Hoople, sure. Badfinger, it might as well. Nothing there really. Benny King is Soul. There's a lot of like obscure 90s bands on here. I don't know what's with that. You know the criteria for the Rock Hall, you have to have it has to have been at least 25 years since you released your first recording. Joe Walsh is a solo, sure. Kate Bush, once again, Blood, Sweat, and Tears. I would put them in just for the popularity factor. They're a great, well, on some tracks, a great jazz fusion band. Meatloaf, maybe. Tool, there's a lot of people that are crazy about Tool. I guess they're metal. I never listened to them. Jimmy Buffett's more country. This Jonathan Rigman, that's an interesting pick. I wouldn't mind seeing them in there. I'll go through 10 pages of this, and then I'm going to call it quits because I could be sitting here all night with this. There's so many, I guess you would call them snubs from the Rock Hall. The Turtles, maybe. John Mayall's like 80 something years old. He'll probably be dead by the time they get him in. They freaking wait so long. Mariah Carey's, of course, like corporate R&B from the 90s. She's got like plastic surgery nowadays. Cyndi Lauper's getting up in age too. They forget about her. Grassroots, maybe. Lenny Kravitz, sure. He's huge. The 90s, 2000s. Diana Ross might as well. Huey Lewis, little corporate. Maybe if they'd been around in the 70s more. Of course, Jim Croce has been dead for a long time. Gary Newman should be in just on the fact of his influence in like the electronic community. Cher, of course, put her in. I didn't know Neil Sedaka wasn't in. Maybe him. Man, even Pointer Sisters aren't even in there. I didn't know that. Phil Collins, I'd say one of the most overrated people in terms of a solo career. I've never listened to Blue Cheer. I might do that though. America, up there with just like this Gordon Lightfoot, America, Three Dog, and Guess Who. I'd put them right at the top of my list for snubs. And there, of course, there's Rufus, like I was talking earlier. God, just the popularity factor alone. The Sweet, maybe. Snoop Dogg, I don't know why he's on there. Peter Frampton, he should. Just based on his current situation, he should be. I've never even heard of some of these people. Carly Simon and Ted Nugent, eh. The Carpenters, of course, Richard's still around at least. Mainly soft rock, I guess, would be their area, but there you go. That's all I'm going to cover, because I could be sitting here for another half hour going through this list. A lot of this list, like you've seen, like who is Bad Brains? Who are they? Hardcore punk and reggae. I've never heard of them. Who is Massive Attack? Hip hop, soul, and dub? Like, what is dubstep doing on a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame snub list? Yeah, I might do a video just on going through this further, the rest of these pages, because there's a lot to show here. But anyway, that's your Rock and Roll Hall of Fame leaderboard, they call it, for the fan vote for 2021. That's analysis on it for you. It's very interesting, but definitely politically oriented, obviously equality oriented with all the female nominations. I bet a good majority of them will get in. But there you go. That's about it. I don't think there's much else to say. I covered everything pretty good. For a quick rundown, should get in, or if not, yes, definitely no, 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 sure, definitely, probably not, maybe, no, yes, yes, the rest are no. That's pretty, that is pretty bad when like the majority of the list is no.